Sure, here's an expanded version of Scene 1 with approximately 800 words, written as a narrative scene without headings. The locker room smelled like cheap perfume, sweat, and wet socks. The after-school light spilled in from the high, grimy windows, casting long shadows on the tile floor. Metal lockers slammed open and shut as girls changed out of their gym clothes, chattering about weekend plans, boys, and parties Amelia Burke would never be invited to. She sat at the far end of the room, alone on a bench. Her backpack lay at her feet, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She didn't meet anyone's eyes. That was how she survived, by disappearing into the background, by being quieter than a whisper and smaller than a shadow. Her hair was long, really long, thick, chestnut brown, worn in one heavy braid that reached halfway down her back. It was always neat, always the same. She'd never dyed it, never curled it, never even let it loose at school. Just one perfect braid. No one had ever seen her without it. "Hey, farm girl," a voice called out, sharp and amused. Amelia didn't look up. She didn't have to. She already knew it was Harper and her crew. Harper Dawson strutted across the locker room like she owned it. She was tall, blonde, and loud, everything Amelia wasn't. Two girls followed behind her, Sydney and Riley, both laughing before anything had even happened. They were always laughing at people like Amelia. "You ever think about a makeover?" Harper asked, plopping down on the bench beside her without invitation. "I mean, it's almost tragic, how much you don't try." Amelia kept her eyes on the floor. "I don't want any trouble," she said quietly. "Oh, we're not trouble," Riley said, smirking. "We're stylists." Sydney held up a pair of electric hair clippers, the kind used in the school's cosmetology class. She must have swiped them after class. They buzzed to life with a sharp mechanical hum, and Amelia's stomach twisted. "Let's see what you look like without that Amish braid," Harper said. "Bet your neck's never seen the sun." Amelia stood, but Harper shoved her back down with one hand. "Relax. It'll grow back. Please don't," Amelia said softly, her voice cracking just slightly. "Don't do this." But they weren't listening. Sydney grabbed the end of the braid and held it taut. Harper grinned, pressed the clippers to the base, and pushed. The sound of the buzzing blades cutting through her hair was louder than anything. The weight fell away in an instant, her braid slipping down to the floor like a shed skin. The other two girls howled with laughter. Amelia sat frozen, but it wasn't over. The clippers kept buzzing. Harper pushed them up the back of her head, then over the sides, shearing away thick clumps of hair that stuck to Amelia's shirt and shoulders. Sydney used her phone as a mirror to show her the progress, giggling uncontrollably. "Wow," Riley said, covering her mouth. "You look like some weird monk now." "You're welcome," Harper said smugly, tossing the clippers to the bench. "Now you don't have to worry about brushing it ever again." Amelia slowly reached up and touched her scalp. Her fingers met short, uneven stubble, soft and foreign. She looked down at the floor where her braid lay like a dead animal among scattered tufts of hair. She didn't speak, didn't cry, nothing to say. Harper mocked, still the quiet little farm freak. The three girls laughed again, louder this time, satisfied with their performance. Amelia stood up. Her movements were slow and deliberate. She brushed a few loose hairs off her shoulder. Her face was pale, but calm. She looked at them, just once. There was no anger in her expression, no fear, no sadness. Just something unreadable, still, and then she walked out. Not a word, not a glance back. Silence followed her like a shadow. For a moment, the laughter faded, replaced by an uncomfortable stillness. "She'll probably cry in a cornfield or something," Sydney muttered. Harper nodded, but her smirk faltered just a little. Riley picked up the braid from the floor, holding it between two fingers like it was something diseased. "What do we even do with this?" "Throw it away," Harper snapped, turning toward her locker. "She'll thank us someday." But even as she said it, she glanced toward the door where Amelia had left, and a flicker of something, doubt, maybe, passed over her face. Outside, the autumn wind blew across the parking lot, sharp and cool. Amelia walked toward her truck, head high, scalp burning from the sudden exposure. Her hands didn't shake. She opened the driver's side door, climbed in, and started the engine. The old truck rumbled to life, steady and dependable. Just like her. She didn't look back once as she pulled away. Not at the school, not at the girls, not at the piece of herself they left behind on the floor. She didn't need to. They would come to her, soon enough. Let me know if you want the second scene expanded in the same tone. Certainly. Here's scene 2 expanded to approximately 800 words, written without headings or breaks. The town hall smelled like varnished wood and old coffee. The room was filled with murmurs and the occasional cough as folding chairs scraped across the linoleum floor. Every seat was taken, mostly by farmers and their spouses, all dressed in their cleanest flannels and worn Sunday jackets. This was the quarterly landowner-tenant meeting, usually dull, mostly formal. People only came because they had to. But today, there was a low hum of curiosity in the air, the kind that spreads when something unusual is about to happen. Harper Dawson sat in the back with her parents, her foot tapping nervously against the floor. Her father, Clay Dawson, a second-generation cattle rancher, glanced over the packet in his lap, their lease agreement for the West Ridge grazing lots, up for renewal this month. Her mother leaned over and whispered something, but Harper didn't respond. Her eyes were on the front of the room, where a slim young woman stood near the podium, flipping through a manila folder with clean, practiced movements. Harper's stomach turned. That couldn't be Amelia Burke. But it was. The hair was gone, cut close in a sleek, clean crop that exposed her high cheekbones and calm, expressionless eyes. She wore a dark gray blazer, the sleeves pushed up just enough to show rolled cuffs and calloused wrists. She looked nothing like the girl who had once sat silent and alone on the edge of gym class. Riley and Sydney sat nearby, their parents beside them, unaware of the shared dread creeping through their daughter's veins. Amelia stepped up to the podium. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice steady, clear, stronger than anyone remembered. "My name is Amelia Burke. As many of you know, I'm the daughter of Daniel Burke. Some of you knew my grandfather, James Burke." There were nods around the room, murmurs of agreement. Most of the tenants had worked Burke land for decades. Generations, in some cases. The name held weight. Amelia continued, "Earlier this summer, my father passed. In accordance with his will, I've assumed full ownership of Burke Agricultural Holdings. As of September 1st, I am the sole decision maker on all leases, contracts, and renewals tied to our land." Now the room was quiet. People shifted in their seats. Even those who hadn't known the Burkes personally had to take notice. Burke Agricultural Holdings owned nearly 40% of the local farmland. The company's land stretched across cattle, pastures, dairy plots, cornfields, and even a few rental homes on the edge of town. Harper's father leaned forward slightly. His brow furrowed. So did Sydney's dad. Riley's mom glanced sideways at the girls and then back at the podium. "I've reviewed all current lease agreements," Amelia went on, her hands resting lightly on the wooden edge. "Most will be renewed, with minor updates for market adjustments. I appreciate the professionalism of the majority of you, your work speaks for itself." There were a few quiet sighs of relief from the crowd. "But," Amelia said, pausing, "there are exceptions." Silence. Harper's throat closed. She stared straight ahead, face flushing, her palms damp against her jeans. "In the past, my family placed little emphasis on tenant conduct outside of agriculture. That will change going forward. I intend to operate not only a business, but a community standard. The people who live and work on Burke land represent it, publicly and privately." Her words were calm, measured, but each one landed like a hammer. A few heads turned, subtle glances from older farmers toward the back of the room, where Harper, Sydney, and Riley sat frozen. "I will not tolerate harassment, cruelty, or abuse, particularly toward youth in this community who already face enough challenges without being made into targets." A woman in the second row tilted her head, clearly trying to follow. Amelia didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. The ones who needed to understand were already doing so. Their daughters were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Their parents were starting to catch on. "The Dawson lease is under review," Amelia said plainly, not looking at Harper, but looking close enough. "As are the Atwell and Carr properties." Riley's mother inhaled sharply. Sydney's father narrowed his eyes. Amelia closed the folder in front of her. "I expect accountability," she said. "And I expect change." She stepped back from the podium as the room filled with whispers and low voices. The meeting moved on, talk of water rights, supply chain shortages, and fall harvests. But the tension never left the air. Harper sat perfectly still, face hot, ears ringing. Her father turned to her slowly, his voice low. "What did you do?" She didn't answer. Amelia exited through the side door of the hall, the late afternoon sun catching on her cropped hair. She walked with quiet purpose, shoulders straight, boots tapping against the pavement like punctuation marks. There was no triumph in her face, no smug satisfaction. Only clarity. They had taken something from her in that locker room. She had taken something back. Not revenge, just power. And she wasn't finished yet. Let me know if you'd like a continuation, or to adapt this into screenplay format.